Along the way, we'll get the update on the big names, Ralphie, from you. But, Gerard, the likes of Petrarca and Curnow and Merritt, these big names that we're still waiting to see what happens with, you've got some broader thoughts on how it stands at the moment with these contracted players.
I just find it so difficult for clubs to prosecute these massive contracts, because the only way some of these things are going to be done is if good players actually end up going the other way. So how do you approach that? If you're Michael Voss or you're Dean Cox, you go up to player X and say, listen, how would you feel if you ended up at Carlton next year? Well, all of a sudden you've broken the bond. And spirit is such a massive part about winning flags. You start to prosecute these things at your peril, because it's not going to be one player, it's probably going to be two. If you're giving up or basically tapping two guys on the shoulder, even if it's done in the nicest possible way, they are going to ask themselves, well, they don't love me anymore, and my love for the club has all of a sudden been tarnished. I mean, you've got, I guess that's at the top end. At the bottom end, you've got, say, a kid like Jack Buller, taken out of Western Australia, given an opportunity through the mid-season draft. The Swans pay him when he's got a bad back, give him 10 games, and all of a sudden he wants to change clubs for more opportunities. And I think to myself, this kid shows something. I'd be telling Jack, you're going to the draft, Jack. We want you, we're staying, you're staying. So it's a really difficult time for the game, for the players, for the clubs, for the coaches, I think, to prosecute all these contracts.
So Ralphie, on those big names in particular, is it up to the managers now? Is that how this, if there's any deal, is it rather than it be the coach walking down the corridor and speaking to the player, is it the manager trying to orchestrate?
Well, the problem is the manager can't go to any of those Geelong players and say, hey, would you be prepared to be in this deal as well as pick one? So right now Geelong's brimming with confidence. They're saying we can still get Charlie Curnow. So I said, OK, which players are you prepared to throw in for? Oh, no, we wouldn't throw any players in, and we certainly wouldn't go to them. So I think they think the Blues will eventually come to them and say, OK, we want pick one and we want Shannon Neal. But the Blues are saying, we don't want to lose this player. Yeah. We're not driving this trade. This is not a case of brinkmanship. We're not playing bluff. We just don't want to lose him. So,
and it's because he's a 4-year contracted player. They don't lose anything, do they? Like, there's no threat to them. There's no pressure on them.
Yeah, whereas normally, if he was out of contract, then Nick Austin and Graham Wright and everyone, Michael Voss, would be driving this as hard as possible to get the best trade. Can I throw a couple up? So let's say that Geelong's involved and it is a first-round pick either this year or next. Look, if you were Carlton, would you say, would accept Sam Niconing? Pick one and Sam Niconing. Shannon Neal?
Shannon Neal, I'd start to think about it.
And their view is that that's not happening.
Geelong are going to get rid of Shannon Neal.
No, but what you're saying, Gerard, too, I agree with the spirit part of it too. And the locker room is something that's never discussed in these scenarios, because what it does, if a club comes to Gerard Healy and he's a leader and says, look, would you mind moving here for me? And we're best mates, and I find out, and then what it does to
hasn't times changed?
Yeah, it has, but the dynamic of the locker room
dialed differently to what they used
I agree with that, but the dynamic of the locker room hasn't, and that's why Cal Wilkie was sort of in some ways asking, well, I've done the work here, I should be rewarded for that, not someone who comes in from the outside, which we all get. But from that perspective you're talking about, I think it has a huge impact. We've personally seen it in regards to what it can do.
Are we getting to the point though where, to make this more capable of moving players, clubs have to be given the opportunity on these long-term deals? You sign a long-term deal, you're giving us your rights, and if we feel like trading you to the West Coast Eagles or to Collingwood, then that's our prerogative. We don't even have to ask you.
I think if it's got a one in front of it, if the contract's got a one in front of it, you are on enough money to be able to pay the private school fees and the relocation and all those kind of things, because that's what happens in the NBA. Those contracts are so massive. I think that with the Curnow situation, Will Hayward has already said, OK, if they would like me to move south, maybe. Of course, we know he signed the deal but was very close to moving to Carlton last year.
What's he going to say, though?
I think privately there's an acknowledgement that he would still be happy to move south. Again, I'm pushing this deal to you. 2 first-rounders from Sydney and Will Hayward. Are you doing that deal if you're Carlton?
I'm not. I'm not doing it if I'm Sydney.
OK.
If you had to guess, where will Charlie Curnow be playing next year? It's an easy one for you.
We look foolish, but right now there's no deal that's anywhere even close to him moving on.
So Carlton 1 for you?
Carlton 1 for me.
Sydney 2?
Sydney 2 and Geelong 3, even though I still think privately Carlton are saying, if someone gives us an amazing deal, we're prepared to do that deal.